folks. Today we have a great technique for you. It's a little more advanced, but it's a classic one, the knife hand chop. So let's get into it. Jesse, if you can give me a good fighting stance right here. Hey. Knife hand chop is, to be very clear, mostly a demonstration technique. It does have very niche applications, and you may find a purpose for it when you're fighting, but hammer fist is going to do a lot of the things that a knife hand chop can do. But one thing that's nice about the knife hand chop, just like the difference between a palm strike and a punch, is that a knife hand chop is a slightly smaller surface area that you can hit with, which means more penetration, and you can get into small spaces that you might not be able to get into with the hammer fist. So like for example, if I'm here and we're fighting and this hand's down a little bit, I might not be able to slip my hammer fist between his chin and his shoulder as easily as I can slip my knife hand chop, okay? And that might not be as apparent from way up here, but let's say he goes down on the ground and he's like all turtled up and turned into me like this, and I'm coming down on him and I can't really get in there. I can kind of whip around with my knife hand chop and get it between his arm and his shoulder and his head. It's all kind of trying to press together to protect himself a lot easier than I would be able to get my hammer fist. So that's just one of those applications for the knife hand chop. Power is delivered in a very similar way, and this is one reason why knife hand chop is such a great board breaking technique. When you sit there and you've got a big slab of concrete and you come down with a hammer fist, actually for me it's harder for me, I would say it's almost the same, but maybe a little bit harder for me to break with a hammer fist than with a knife hand chop. And the reason why I think it's easier with a knife hand chop is because it's got a smaller surface area, so you get better penetration in a smaller spot. But it looks so much more impressive. If someone comes up like this with a balled fist, not as cool as coming up with an open hand. And so that's why this technique is such a cool demo technique. But like I said, it's got some applications. So we can come in, we got two different types of horizontal knife hand chops. We got our forehand coming across this way, and our backhand coming over here. And like I said, it doesn't have to be exactly, or maybe I can say this, but it doesn't have to be exactly horizontal. You can be coming down on a bit of an angle. And then we have that downward knife hand chop, which we could use on the collarbone, both forehand and backhand, or when he's down on the ground, just raining down on top of him, trying to find our way through the crack in his defense with the blade of our hand, okay? When we're doing our knife hand chop, we're really hitting with just this part here. We're not hitting with, our fingers, so we want to be careful of that, or down here on our arm. Of course we could. This is, in a desperate situation, you could be hitting with all of this, with your forearm and your hand. But like I said, the benefit is you can fit in those cracks. The power with a hammer fist or with a knife hand chop is the same as with a hammer fist. And one thing that you have to remember is it's very different than with a strike, like a punch. So with a strike, Jesse, if you can stand there, if I go to strike, I'm going to punch you in the chest, Jesse, real softly. If I go to strike Jesse's chest, when I go to hit Jesse, he moves away. And because of that, it needs to be more of a concussive blow where I snap, boom. Like when I go to hit him, I'm snapping and coming through. That kind of snapping motion doesn't lend itself well to downward force. Downward force is like you're dropping your weight down into it, and you kind of need to be more loose and relaxed. So same thing with the hammer fist, where you're kind of loose and relaxed, you're kind of dropping down into the strike. When you're doing a dropping motion with a knife hand chop, you want to be kind of loose and relaxed. And remember, you're not leaning your chest forward like this. You're dropping with your hips, keeping yourself kind of centered. And look at how I come up with the ball of my foot like that to get a little extra power. So anyway, that's your knife hand chop. Got tons of different directions of attack with it, but the main difference is it's just a hammer fist where you've opened your hands so you can get a little more penetration. And Jesse?
Yes, sir.
Let's keep training hard, guys.